And from one frame to another, we are now talking about the Season of the Witch, new weapons and exotics that are coming through. Now, of course, as usual with the season, there is a Season Pass exotic, hopefully a trait of new exotic armors. I haven't looked just yet, just because there should be. Maybe not next season, but there definitely should be some now. So, starting off with the Season Pass exotic, and I'll go from exotic to the variety of new legendary weapons. First off, we have the X-Dearest, which is a new arc grenade launcher. It is, of course, a Season Pass, which means there is a catalyst for it, but we'll find out what that is hopefully soon enough. But its main perk is Corruptive Nucleosynthesis. This weapon enrages when dealing or taking sustained damage, granting an increased rate of fire when enraged, which sounds pretty much like Taraba, but a grenade launcher. And also just, it is a special weapon, so it's not another fighting line. You will have to eventually run through ammo, so maybe that is not so great. But it has a kind of two set of unique perks to it aside from the catalyst. It has a unique magazine, the Nucleosynthesis magazine, where the magazine continuously draws ammo from reserves. This magazine also enables firing arc projectiles that detonate on impact, which sounds like it is Mountaintop meets Reconstruction all at once. This might be a nutty grenade launcher. And then also you have Loyal Moths, which is turning Lucent Hive Moths friendly, where final blows with this weapon creates a Loyal Moth that will seek out nearby targets, detonate, damaging, and blinding them. So they also work against unstoppable champions in addition to that, because I believe they've pretty much tuned everything to be arc blinding at this point. Definitely interesting. Might play around with that. That might be a better Dead Messenger than Dead Messenger ever was. But on that note, it is time to get into the main exotics tabs. Now, of course, because of the way things go, they won't exactly spoil everything in case there's any new weapons. But on the front page, of course, there is another unknown kinetic, so hopefully we will find that out soon in the future. Whether actually, no, it's probably Necrochasm. Now that it's, well, I just spoiled something. Well, you've already seen it. I know I didn't spoil it in the other video, but if you watched the first one, you'll probably watch this one. And then nothing new, and the power there, and nothing new there. So, in terms of weapons, currently, it's looking like it'll just be Necrochasm and X-Dearest for exotic weapons, but time to get in the armor. So, starting for Titan, we have Pyrogale Gauntlets. Let's see, they looked interesting on the thing. Modifies Burning Maul into a single high damage slam of your hammer that creates 5 Cyclones of Flame. Conjugation second gram. Oh my goodness. This might make me a Solar Titan main for the season. I'm sure if you've seen some of my videos, I've been loving my Void Severance Enclosure setup, but that sounds OP, or at least a lot of fun. I love Consecration, and that gives me a reason to use something other than freaking, Flame Cyclones. That might be the Sunspot one that they were teasing. Then for Hunters, we have Moth Keeper's Wraths, where your grenade becomes a cage of loyal moths that release on impact and fly to the nearest target or ally. If they reach a target, they detonate in blinding, of course, like X-Dearest, and if they reach an ally, they grant a Void Overshield. Wow. Bungie's going nuts on these freaking unique and actually seemingly powerful exotics. Now, of course, I don't know if it has any subclass synthesis, but basically just a modified grenade thing. That's pretty awesome sounding. Very support, very offensive. And then lastly, for Warlocks, we have Briar Binds. Your Void Souls have longer duration. They also gain escalating damage and durability as they defeat targets. You can retrieve your Void Souls by interacting them, allowing them to be redeployed. Not gonna lie. Last season's exotics kind of seemed pretty meh, but holy crap, Bungie came out swinging with these exotics. Like, I forget what, aside from Arbor Warden, and Triton Vice, and I kind of forget what Warlock had. Oh, no, it wasn't Ballador's. But holy Cenotaph. Cenotaph was powerful, but everything else was pretty meh. Exotics are looking spicy nowadays. And of course, we haven't seen what Necrochasm's rework is going to be, so hopefully that's still as spicy as people are hoping it will be. But now getting to the broad spectrum of just random legendary weapons. So starting from the front for auto rifles, let's see. No new auto rifles this season. How about that? And then for scout rifles, we have a few. So there's the Guiding Sight, which is coming to Iron Banner, which I think this is reworked officially, and it's also a new forge. So if you haven't seen, there is a new, they're kind of adding more foundry weapons. This is Nadir Focus, where sustained fire increases accuracy and range, increases lunge distance for swords, and projectile velocity for launchers. So this is another city-based weapon system, so I guess we're going to be seeing another kind of like Suros and everything like that. And this one is a strand high-impact frame scout rifle, which I think the guiding sight was one that kit dropped before. It's just been reworked for the future. And then we also have seasonally the Bria's Love, which is a void precision frame scout rifle, which has the new seasonal trait Head Rush, where standing up after crouching for a short time grants increased period, or grants this weapon a brief period of improved handling and reload speed. So sounds like Cryoclasm might have a set of weapons for that, and all of the frickin', what's it called, Antaeus spammers. And then on that note, nothing else new for scout rifles elsewhere. And I imagine that most of the raid gear is going to be not anywhere in here, or at least be unknown, even though we saw some of it in the trailer. So for pulse rifles, we have the return of Nightshade as a Strand, Vanguard, and also Nadir pulse rifle. This is a lightweight kinetic, which I don't know if it will be dropping from Vanguard specifically, considering this was very much a Vanguard thing. It might be open world just because of how it is, although I already looked, and unless there's 2 weapons in the Vanguard playlist, there might be 2 there. So then we also have Hermatic 4, which is another Cassoid one, which comes with a new one that I'm going to be liking, Wildcard, where final blows with this weapon have a chance to create experimental submunitions at the target's location. Experimental, I'm assuming, means a kind of elemental cluster bomb, hopefully. And this is a high-impact stasis frame, which, looking at it, could be kind of interesting. This seems like it will be dropping from the gunsmith pretty much straight up, or it's just a basic world drop, so hopefully it drops a lot and gets a roll that I would like. And then that is the last of the pulse rifles. For hand cannons, you'll see an interesting one going forward. So we have, seasonally, the Kept Confidence, which is a adaptive strand hand cannon, which I think is the first of its kind, because we haven't had an adaptive strand one yet. And, of course, Head Rush Origin trait and a possibly good set of perks. Don't know if this will be a new meta, but of course I believe it'll be it is craftable, just judging by that, so there we go. And then we also have Warden's Law and Warden's Law Adept. If you don't know, this is a brand new subfamily of hand cannon, which is going to be the Heavy Burst. It used to just be an aggressive frame that split the damage between 2 bullets, but for the sound of it, is going to be like an aggressive frame sidearm and be burst fire, and then it goes da-dung, as opposed to just bam, if that makes sense. So, interested in that. I always loved Warden's Law. I never got the perfect roll I wanted, but I always loved the idea. And then we also have Malediction, which is another Cassoid-based hand cannon. This one being the pinnacle for the season. This one is earnable from all 3 ritual vendors, and of course, associated, ornaments based on the element. But I'm not going to lie, this hand cannon is looking beautiful right off the bat, and using one of the underrated hand cannon models that I kind of love. And it's according perks: Stability Masterwork with Fluted Barrel for better handling and stability, Flared Magwell for better stability and reload speed, and the first column we have Discord, or a new one, Enlightened Action, where dealing damage improves reload speed and handling. Sounds like a simpler and possibly less rewarding rapid hit. We also have Harmony and Explosive Payload, which from this, honestly, it seems it seems like a mix, but the go-to is probably going to be Enlightened Action and Explosive Payload. I know Discord is pretty handy, but at the same time, I've never used it, so I don't know if it's trash or good. So, there we go. In terms of Origins trait, it also has the Cassoid Wildcard trait, as well as all 3 of the ritual activities, and it is an aggressive frame kinetic hand cannon. So there might be something interesting to look out for this season. It sounds like it might be pretty solid. And then in terms of the other hand cannon, the return of Igneous Hammer, and of course its Adept is still an aggressive frame solar hand cannon with refresh. One thing that's heal clip, reloading shortly after dealing a final blow grants cure to you and nearby allies. Oh boy, that might be required for everything Trials. And then it also has percussion or precision instrument, where dealing sustained damage increases precision damage. A new kind of target lock, maybe good on snipers, maybe good on linear fusion rifles or machine guns, if any get them. And then into submachine guns, it is possible we have, there's one, the Showrunner, which is basically another Vanguard weapon brought to Nadir. Kinetic lightweight submachine gun, pretty much a lot of the year 1 gear seems to be returning. Also Nadir for sustained fires, increases accuracy and range, and the variety. And access to a few solid sets of perks right off the bat, like Kinetic Tremors, so let's keep an eye out for that. Then we also have Unending Tempest, which is a precision frame stasis submachine gun, which I believe is going to be the Crucible drop, which pretty solid looking paint job on this, even if it's a basic year 1 Destiny 2 model. Of course, Stasis and Nadir in addition, so there is going to be some solid perks on that. Of course, being stasis, headstone is a logical step, and I don't know if there's going to be anything new on that stasis-wise, because they don't seem to be so keen on making brand new ones. But that seems to be the only SMGs for now. In terms of the sidearm department, we have the, well, hang on, let me try this. Heliocentric QSC, which seems to be just another gunsmith weapon to be dropping, which is a nadir base, of course, which is solar, has access to, of course, new perks like heal clip and incandescent, which, looking in terms of a survivalist solar healing build, that might be a lethal combination. But I hope that exists in something that isn't a sidearm, just because sidearms are pretty meh. And then in terms of bow, we actually have a variety of bows for this season. So this is one, the pre-Astellanix 4, which is also Cassoid and Vanguard, and Nightfall. So it has the Nightfall, Vanguard, and Cassoid origin traits. And it is a solar precision frame bow. So it's pretty solid. If you remember Stride and Whistle, it's pretty much just a Nightfall version of Stride and Whistle by the sound of it. But, of course, it's got to check the perk pools. But, of course, there is a depth, which will always be the step up. And the return of Point of the Stag. So if you don't remember what this is, this was a ritual bow that was delayed of its initial release and eventually got purchasable, which has had to, originally when it was ritual, had a very solid selection of perks, but of course, it seems when something had a set amount of perks and then comes back, they come back almost worse for wear. But this is also being called Cassoid very randomly, I might add. Like, this wasn't even Cassoid, it wasn't even anything before. But of course, it now is Iron Banner, so it has the Skulking Wolf origin trait and Wildcard. So I believe Point of the Stag and Guiding Sight might be the two, just Iron Banner entrance weapons. But that's everything for primaries into second, or energy and special weapons. So for shotguns, we have, let's see, Deadpan Delivery, which is another year 1 gun they just decided to bring back. Aggressive frame, nadir frame, but of course also a variety of just random shotgun perks. Don't know if this will be worth anything, but it definitely seems like this might have just been added to either the world pool or slight seasonal gear. Just because, considering how many things were brought back just out of random and didn't even have any sort of inkling, possibly just random drops. Then, no new special ammo grenade launchers, unfortunately. Sad. And then for fusion rifles, we have two. We have the Eremite, which is seasonal, a solar high-impact frame fusion rifle. Just because it's high impact, we'll have to see how it performs, but compared to Glacioclasm, it might have some competition, just because that is pretty solid already. And then we also have the Nox Perennial 5, which is basically Cassoid, which I think is a rework of, just because of the name, is a new Monarchy weapon that they just decided to bring back as Cassoid, but it's going to be interesting just because Fusion Rifle and Experimental Submunitions and Strand. And, oh, Under Pressure Kickstart right off the bat. That might be a new Crucible Pain, depending on how much they nerfed Ignition, or Ignition Code, or whatever that Kickstart Fusion Rifle from Neo Muna was terrorizing people. In terms of sniper rifles, we have Persuader, which is a rapid-fire Vanguard just brought back. I'm assuming more Whirlpool. Interesting scope on that point. I've never seen a scope like that. But it is Void and has, high ground. Gain bonus damage when attacking targets from a higher ground. So if this exists on a few damage options, there might be some damage strats that's literally just because we're on a higher platform, use that. So that's going to be interesting. We also have Luna Regolith 3, which if I recall is basically, while being Cassoid, I think this is, well, no, we just had a sniper last season, so I think this is more world drop things. It's hard to say because I think this might be competitive reward, but I haven't seen competitive yet. It might actually be, come to think of it, that SMG that I saw, just because Mercurial Overreach was the competitive sniper reward from last season. So we'll have to see about Regolith. And then no new Trace Rifles, unfortunately, and no new Glaives as well. So we'll just have to hold on for those in the future. Now, going into the heavy slot, for swords, we have Geodetic HSM, which seems to be another just gunsmith look. Destabilizing rounds on a Void Adaptive Frame Sword. Not gonna lie, there has to be some solid options on an Adaptive Frame Sword to make it worth using in comparison to most of the class swords are just unique swords. So hopefully it has something to offer. Then for heavy grenade launchers, let's see, Cataphract GL3, which I think this is the new Trials grenade launcher, which is Strand and Amalon. So there is some options there, which, not gonna lie, I'm really liking the look of it. There hasn't been many new looking or interesting looking grenade launchers, but this looks pretty solid right at the bat. And of course, because Trials also has an Adept, so in case Adept big ones or just a good set of damage perks on it, well, it already has Cascade Point, which I think on Wendigo was a damage option. But pretty much, this might be something interesting to shape up the damage meta. And then for rocket launchers, we already seen one or few drop in terms of the world. The first being the Semiotician, which is a high-impact strand rocket launcher, which might be better in every way than whatever strand rocket launcher was brought for Solstice, just already off the bat looking at some of these perks. And that pretty much looks like everything for rocket launchers, though. And honestly, I still haven't got Braytech Osprey, sad. But then for linear fusion rifles, nothing new there. And for machine guns, we have the Kazapan 4, which is a Gambit ritual weapon, which is a high-impact frame looking just like Chain of Command. Okay, hang on. I'm going to break the fourth wall here. Where is that? You can't, like Bungie, this is going to be the definition of reskinning. You put on a nice-looking scope and a few random attachments to make Chain of Command look different, and then you just copy and pasted that to this one and added the Gambit paint. That's reducing how unique Chain of Command is now, so that's pretty much just a white version of this now and has a limited role. So, regardless of my gripe, Cassoid as well as Gun and Run because of Gambit. Destabilizing rounds might make it a pretty solid option. Don't know if it'll ever contend with, well, fixed odds or commemoration for that matter. And then also we have the Lactic Principle, which is an arc rapid-fire frame machine gun. Depending on the perks, could be a new 21% delirium, and of course it is seasonal, which means it'll likely be, or not likely, it's pretty much guaranteed to be craftable at this point. But that is the broad majority of everything in terms of weapons. Now, I'm just going to be checking through here in case, of course, there is, well, just for the curiosity. These are the 3 seasonal ornaments for the Pinnacle weapon this season, in case you were interested. Which, that was Crucible. We have Gambit, which, it's interesting. It's like a snake tiger stripe, or rattlesnake look. And then, wow, that's actually got some neon to it. So I was going to go Bled, but it's got some nice looks to it. Then, let's see. No other legendary weapon skins. Yep, all the way through. So with that, that is pretty much the weapons loadout of everything new weapon-wise in the season. So the last thing to do is, of course, like we've seen before, just based on their return, when you actually check patterns and Catalyst, Monte Carlo Catalyst is available, but at the same time, it has to be earned from somewhere. There is a quest that is giving Monte Carlo, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's just a drop, but at the same time, it does say it drops from playlist activities, so keep an eye out for that. Now, in terms of new crafted gear, going through, I haven't seen any of the new raid, but of course, Seasonal is going to be crafted in the form of Kept Confidence, Bria's Love, and of course, Dead Man's Tale, which is recently refreshed and craftable now, being added to the exotic playlist. And then, let's see, the Erminite, the fusion rifle, no new glaives. Dead Messenger will also be craftable, which, of course, when it comes back around on Box Obscura. Then, Locus Lacotus, which I guess is a sniper rifle I missed, which is Stasis. Oh, yeah, I already found it. I think I scrolled on its thing. But Stasis, rapid-fire sniper, if I recall. And then, wrapping it all up, there is Galactic Principle, Semocetition, and that is everything in terms of craftables. Now, of course, when the raid, which I think I already spoiled it, but when Crota comes back, I wouldn't be surprised if all of those gears are craftable, but they pretty much kept them completely out of the menus, classified or otherwise. So, we'll just have to wait and see what all is coming there. We did see a few details in terms of visuals, like obviously Necrochasm, I think Fangavir Ute, and a few other things, but we'll have to stay tuned for that. And note, my name is Matt Scorpion. I will see you in the next video, which will be the cosmetics of the season, which is probably one of my favorite videos.